everyone, welcome to another episode. Today I'd love to share how you can add colors to your drawing in Photoshop. There is a lot of different ways you can approach it based on how important your drawing is for your final painting. I'd love to share how I like to work and things I find helpful, and I hope that can also help you whenever you do your own paintings or adding color to your own drawings. So let's jump into it, shall we? So the first thing I like to ask myself, how far do I want to push the drawing? Do I want it to just maintain a sketch? Do I want to add color to the drawing but maintain the drawing until the very end? Do I want to paint up the background but maybe maintain the drawing on the character itself? Or do I want to take the image so far that I paint out everything and I don't have anything of the drawing left? Being able to decide on that early allows me to make decisions of how I want to approach it. The image I made ended up somewhere in between where I kept a bit of the drawing and painted out almost all of it. And that's how I generally like to work with my personal work. So before we jump into the coloring process, I just want to share the brush I use for drawing. It kind of has a graphite tip to it. I use this almost for all my drawings in Photoshop. There's a lot of brushes similar to this that you can find in standard Photoshop brush pack. So the first thing I want to do is, I know I'm going to get rid of the drawing first. I'm not going to keep it till the very end, but for now it's going to be on top of everything in my layers, and I'm just going to paint below it. And I'm always trying to, whenever I do my paintings, is starting with very bold and big shapes. I try not to worry too much about smaller brush strokes, just big shapes. You know, there's going to be a lot of water, there's going to be a lot of skies. I want the vibes to be brighter behind the character so she stands out, but I'm trying to keep very large brush strokes as well. Also, there was some issues with OBS. To the top right, you see where I keep picking colors is from where my RGB slider was. By accidentally, when I was setting up the recording, it decided to just pick up the window itself. But whenever you see me go over there, I'm just picking from my RGB slider, something I talked in previous videos. I love using that when adding colors to my images. And I'm still keeping very broad strokes as I keep going along. I also try to think about, when I'm painting the clouds, the brush I use for painting the cloud, it's much softer than the brushes I use for the water or the island in the back. I use a lot of masks as well to try and get some clean edges. I'll be talking a bit more about that later, especially when you have a drawing on top. Kind of the benefit of using a mask in different ways you can merge it with your drawing to make sure you don't have a lot of artifacts along the edges, which kind of is a problem I personally run into whenever I add color to my drawing in Photoshop. And one thing that I also really like whenever you set up a drawing ahead of time, it kind of doesn't matter what you paint in behind it or the colors you choose and stuff, because you always have a skeleton to the image itself that you know you already decided on the answer of things, where the character is going to be, the layout of the image itself, and it's kind of reassuring and kind of reduces a bit of stress where you don't have to keep trying to figure out things as you're sculpting it out with paint and color and value. That's something you try to solve, but you know the foundation of the image is there. That's why I think doing drawings ahead of time and taking time to really think about what you want to do, it breaks down the problems you have to deal with whenever you make an image. Because whenever you do the drawing, you just focus on the essence of what you want to capture. You don't have to worry about the lighting, you don't have to worry about the values, because when you do all of that at once, it tends to get pretty overwhelming, and sometimes you just get confused and it starts getting a bit difficult to handle. But there's something I want to talk about when adding color to your drawings in Photoshop essentially. And if you look at the example here, I'll be sharing how it looks whenever you just paint it manually and compared to when you mask it. And the issue I talked about, artifact along the edges, where if it's going to feel a lot of wonky, it's going to take a lot of extra work to go back into it. But first thing, I just want to lasso out this one so we can see a bit clear how it would look like. It goes a bit faster also when you use lasso. I love using that tool. But you see, when we turn off the drawing itself, you see how wonky the edges are, and it's something you're gonna have to go back in and fix whenever you do the painting. With the lasso tool, it's a bit better, but it's still some wonkiness. So something I personally like to do a lot is simply I'm gonna copy over what I have here, and I'm just gonna take the drawing itself and I'm gonna change the color of it, because I want to merge it with the paint itself and then kind of work with the two and push and pull to try and find a balance that works. Because that's how I feel like if you're happy with the drawing, you don't have to worry so much about the artifact you end up getting along the edges when you approach it like this. The problem with it is there's no going back, you know, so you gotta have a backup for your files. But it looks much cleaner if you see the difference between the two. Either method works, it's just something I personally prefer when I do my drawings. And here I'm using similar where I'm masking out the seagulls as well. If we get a bit of issues along the edges, as you can see when I turn off the drawing, they're so far off in the image and they're not really part of the focus, it's not that big of a deal. But for instance, of things that are closer to us, the main focal point, I would be much more careful, and I probably would merge the drawing itself with the painting just to make it read better. And I'm also going to mask these out on a separate layer because I'm not going to go into too much detail on these. I'm just going to do a few broader strokes, but I do want to get them all selected as I do it. And zooming out, I'm going back and adding some more detail here and there. I feel like the images come together. There's just some rendering that I want to bring out some more, adding a bit more contrast at the bottom part of the ledge where she's standing. And I really at this point is just trying to bring it together and try to make sure the focus is at the character. I start playing around with a bit of blur just to try and focus on, I want the focus to be mainly on the girl and as she's feeding the bird, and everything else should support it and drop back to try and not pull too much attention from it, because that's what's important in the image. But we're getting close to the end of the image. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope there was something here. You know, whenever, especially in Photoshop, it can be a bit tricky when you want to add color to painting. I hope there was something here that can help you in doing that. I had a lot of fun making this video, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and there is something in it that'll help you next time you want to add color to your own drawings. Let me know in the comment section below, do you have a different approach to adding color to your drawing? I'd love to hear it. I put up a video also each Friday, so if you subscribe, you'll be notified when it comes out. And I also want to wish you a happy weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!